Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Good morning.
Sorry to cut it so close. I started to get tied up in my little presentation this morning and remembered that I had a presentation this morning.
Oh, good.
I have basically this is a PowerPoint before it becomes a PowerPoint, so that means it's very ugly. But what I'd like to do is talk. Let's see who all's on the call. We ought to probably do some intros before long. I'll give people just another minute or so to join the call. I'd like to, we've got a pretty important date coming up, two of them, you know about one, of course, the selection of the president, but there's another important date. I'm going to keep you on pins and needles until I get to the end of the presentation and see if I can surprise you on that one. We'll see. So anyhow, looks like people are joining. Let's go ahead with introductions. Lisa has asked me to host this one. Of course, Alex has gone on to greener pastures. I'm not sure where, but I congratulate him wherever those might be. And
oh no, really? Did he leave the chamber?
Yeah, he is heading off. Boy, I hope that's public information. I'm assuming it was, but anyway, you're stuck with me this morning. And so Lisa asked me to host and also talk about the college. And before we do that, why don't we go around the table and introduce people? And I'm going to start. We do the old Brady Bunch thing here, so I'm going to start with Phil.
Okay. I don't mind being a Brady Bunch. It helps people spell my name. And some good. The movies were fun. The TV show drove me crazy. It was too, but the movie spoofed the TV show well. Well, speaking of greener pastures, there's not much greener pastures, anything more green than Sherman and Gillum County this time of year. It is really beautiful. Take a drive through the wheat fields. They are glorious in their greenness right now. I had that opportunity. I drove to John Day. My family's origins in Oregon are in the John Day Valley, and for Eastern Oregon Commissioners meeting. And what I want to speak to is what I noticed. We speak of an urban-rural divide in Oregon, and a lot of the issues that bug people in Eastern Oregon are not Willamette Valley centered. It's actually federal issues. There's a couple coming at the state and from the federal government. One is from well, two are from FEMA. One is, I think, pretty legitimate. Philip Mosher and I were just at a presentation regarding floodplains. So that's a real FEMA thing. Where's the dangers? Another one is FEMA has been sued by NOAA, that's the weather people, for not having floodplains that protect salmon. And it's strange that those agencies would be out to protect salmon. That is a bit strange. So that rulings we're trying to push back on that because we don't know what that will mean. It would be, if it does a lot of protection out, or pushes a wide buffer out, that's going to be really hard out for communities on the coast. Another one has to do with the size of trees that can be cut. The rule was 21 inches, and as forests grow, a lot of trees size into that, and you could cut below that but not above. So that's kind of squeezing things out. And the third one is, if you're familiar with the multiple use principle for public lands, which is resources, agriculture, and recreation. It's been proposed to add conservation as another multiple use. And that's getting people like, okay, what's that going to mean? So I bring these up not to take sides on the issue, but to kind of refocus that it's not an urban, those aren't urban rural divides. Those are, they are affecting the rural part of the state more than the urban part of the state. The other thing I'll say is Roger Nichols has done a wonderful job representing Wasco County on the Columbia Gorge Scenic Area Board, and his term is up. I'm not sure if he's going to apply again, but the applications are open for that. If you want to be interested, talk to me and we can, I'll tell you tell you more about it. That's my check-in. That's more newsy today than usual.
That is excellent. All good news, Phil. Thank you very much. And important news regarding Roger and the FEMA as well. I know there was a hearing before the meeting before the city council on Monday on some of those issues. Go on to Scott McKay.
Good morning, Dan and everyone. Scott McKay, Community Liaison for Circles of Care. I have to make a couple comments on what Phil said. One is that my last sense of euphoria was driving back from Condon on the wheat fields at sunset. And I think there was a storm coming through and it was just incredibly beautiful. And, you know, I much prefer wheat fields to the forest nowadays as far as the attractiveness and all that. And the second thing is, you know, if everyone had a chance to become a county commissioner, you'll find out that if you think you knew everything, you don't. And all the different ideas that, I mean, you find out how complex every situation is and every decision. So Phil has the honor of being in that position now and doing a great job and just remind you that nothing's simple. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah. Corliss?
Good morning, everyone. Corliss Marsh. I'll just say hi.
Hi. Hello, Corliss. Philip?
Good morning, Philip Masher, Sotheby's Realty, the Dalles Art Center, and the Planning Commission. I just wanted to remind once more about an important meeting this evening about Main Street. That's at the Columbia Gorge Wine Library at
5:15.
Thank you. 5:15 to 7:15. They will present, my understanding is that they will present somewhat of a restart of Main Street and also collect community input. So especially for downtown businesses, I think it's important to show up to that. And I'll just leave it at that for today.
Thank you, Philip. David Peters.
Good morning, everybody. Columbia Cascade Housing, Mid-Columbia Housing Authority. Just as an FYI, we have started actually making our grants and loans for the down payment program. We've had 2 applicants go through. So, well, I've submitted the paperwork to be paid out of the state funding. So for about 110, 120,000 already. So we're finally moving forward on those. So that's working out pretty well. Those again are both grants and loans, and we have over 1.3 million to get out. So we're starting to get on that. Thanks.
All right, thank you, David. Philip, I just noticed in the chat box, yes, I can. I was just speaking to a close relative of Ed's yesterday, and I just learned that there are 2 at Edmo's, one of whom sadly is no longer with us, but the storyteller is, and they are related. But I do have a contact. I'll catch up with you. Alex, you're muted, sir. Nope, still muted. I'm going to go on just for a second, Alex. All righty. Casey, you're muted. I hope I haven't muted everybody. Did I do that? Oh, no. Okay.
Sorry, I have myself on mute because my kids are watching cartoons in the background and they're entertaining, but probably not for you guys.
Of course it would be. Okay.
But, yeah, I'm Casey, owner of Casey Business Solutions. I'm really excited to share that one of my current projects is the Dalles 4th of July. And so I'm going to go ahead and post the link to our Facebook page. From there, you can be deviated to the website, all of our events, so share them around. Fireworks show is at 10 p.m. on the 4th of July itself this year.
All right.
And
thank you, Casey.
Yeah.
Thanks for that link. Thank you. Pam M.
That is me, Dan. I am on to listen to see what you have to say about what's going on at the college.
Oh my gosh. You mean I have to be accurate, Pam?
Well,
Pam,
no,
Pam Morris.
I don't. So you know, I'm just calling in. For those who don't know me, I'm the chair of the math department at the college, and I run math day.
And Pam Morse is one of the most outstanding instructors you will ever find. If you are intimidated by math, as I am, I highly recommend her. And I know I'm biased on that, but I'm just going to be out there on that. Matthew.
Thank you for saying that.
It's true. Matthew. Hello, Matthew. Are you with us? Give Matthew a second to chime back in. Alex, have you got your audio back on, sir? No. All right. Checking back with Matthew. Okay. You know, I think if it's okay with y'all, I'm going to go ahead and jump into this very boring 3 slides that I have. And I say boring because I just did a chronology list, and I've got an ulterior motive here, and it speaks to the surprise I have at the end of the list. So I'd like those of you, especially who have been around a while, to correct me and add to this, because there's a reason for it. There are 2 reasons. One is we have a new president coming on board, and I'd like to be able to present a brief history of Columbia Gorge Community College to that individual and capture key points. And so I'm going to share my screen and ask everyone to see what I might be missing on the screen. And I'm going to kind of bump up my document size a little bit here. Can everybody see the screen?
Looks good.
Okay, good. So Columbia Gorge Community College, where we've been, and I'm going to talk about where we are now and where we're going. And that's a pretty ambitious topic, but again, Dan Spatz, Community Affairs, Capital Projects with Columbia Gorge Community College. I've followed Columbia Gorge Community College since days of the Dalles Reminder. I was taking pictures of the graduating class on the back of the Williams building downtown. And I think we had maybe 10 or 12 students lined up on the stairway on the back of the building. We've come a long way, and it's kind of interesting. It's like climbing a mountain. You know, you get tired about halfway up and you look back down to see how far you've come. And it's always kind of encouraging when you do that. So I'm going to be talking a while here, but please feel free to break in. Alex, I'm glad you're here. If I'm missing anything in chat or anything, please let me know. But it's been kind of fun putting this together. So we mentioned Roger Nichols earlier. Roger and I co-authored the Wasco County Sesquicentennial book back in, I think it was 2004 or 2005, I should know. And I had a history of the college in there, so I was doing a little bit of research last night on some of this. 76, the thing about Columbia Gorge Community College, probably the most important thing, it's not something that was dropped down from Salem. It was not created in Salem. It was created locally. This was a local initiative to the point that there had to be special legislation, special dispensation to create what became Columbia Gorge Community College. It was an odd bird, Wasco Area Education Service District, starting the origins of it November 1976. And again, anyone who has been in town longer than I have, and there's a whole lot of people like that, I think some of whom are on this call, please let me know if that is inaccurate. It's the information I had back when we did the book. Bill Bell, still doing quite well, by the way. He was riding around in the forest of Idaho a few months back and fell off his donkey, but he's doing well, and I speak to him regularly. He had hoped to be out here just a week ago. Fall term 1977, the first courses offered as Treaty Oak Education Center. We were accredited at that time and for many years after through Portland Community College, and it was confusing. Students received their degrees from PCC. They get mailings about financial aid from Portland Community College and throw them away because, hey, I'm enrolled at Treaty Oak or later Columbia Gorge Community College. I'm not enrolled at PCC. Why am I getting this mail? So there were a lot of issues there. New programs had to go through curriculum review down in Portland, had to go through an approval process in Portland. So it was tough to turn around something with any expediency. So it was a driving issue that led eventually to another important point in the chronology, and we'll get to that. But 1983, Treaty Oak Community College. And there is controversy sometimes, especially some of our board members have questioned that, not knowing the history, and perhaps it is something that we need to explore in depth. It's a big, heavy issue, and the fact that there are still questions over why did we call that? Was it an appropriation? And in researching it, I think the answer is yes, it was. I spoke with one of the original architects who was involved in the program back then, and there really was not outreach, so far as we know, and what I've been told from some of the folks involved at that point, formal outreach anyway to the tribes to say if it was okay to use that name. So, but I know the intent was good because it was to honor the significance of tribal heritage, in particular the Treaty Oak that literally grew along the banks of Mill Creek, and remnants of which are preserved to this day. I think it lived into the 1950s, maybe 1960s. If anybody remembers that, please let me know. One of the signing places of the treaties of 1855, not the only one. There were several. In any case, Columbia Gorge Community College came along, the new name, in 1989. And again, I've mentioned the Williams building. It was not the only location. There were several leased spaces. I remember working with Bob Cole, Small Business Development Center, down on 2nd Street, off of 2nd Street. But it was not an ideal situation. A number of separate buildings leased. And so there were a couple of efforts to locate a permanent campus. One on the east side of town up in Columbia View Heights. That one didn't work out. But then finally Judson Baptist College had been vacant for a number of years. It had previously been an Oregon State hospital, a tuberculosis institution, eventually became Judson. That went out of business, or they closed that campus anyway, and was vacant. And so there was a big community interest in moving the college up there. Took a bond to do it. The bond wasn't quite sufficient to take on the job. There was a lot of asbestos. Buildings were falling apart. We had buckets under the roof for many years afterward, but it did happen. And Dr. Bill Bell made that happen. He led the effort, and there was a community campaign, and the community made it happen. Again, it was a community initiative. You know, you kind of liken it to the waves coming up when the tide's coming in. We've had 3 presidents, and each one that tide has come a little bit farther up the shore, and you make a little bit more progress, or a lot more progress. The next big driver, of course, Dr. Frank Toda, and talk about making historic progress in so many different ways. And, you know, you can kind of see it right down here. Voter approval, again, a Hood River issue, Hood River annexation driven by the community now, not only in Wasco County, but also Hood River County. Mike Shand, former community education director with the Hood River County School District, led the campaign committee, but it was very much a Wasco Hood River effort to actually annex most of Hood River County. College District, the tax district is most of Wasco County, not all of it. The Warm Springs Reservation is not included. That's part of Central Oregon Community College. And one outlier, the city of Cascade Locks, just the city, is part of Mount Hood Community College District. And I'm not sure of the history. That goes back a long, long ways. But regardless, the rest of the county was annexed, leading to the question, okay, what do we do in Hood River County? So there was another bond measure, 2004, to establish a permanent building, permanent campus, and build a classroom building on the Hood River campus. And that continues to this day. Again, Dr. Toda initiative on that one, as was the nursing program. The hospitals have been relying on traveling nurses, and very expensive proposition to staff a hospital with traveling nurses. There had been a nursing school in the Dalles back in the 1940s and 50s anyway. It might have gone back earlier than that. It eventually closed down, and it closed down, I think, in the 60s. Again, someone correct me if they have better information on that. So you had entire generations of nurses going through their careers, eventually retiring. And as they retired, that led to a significant shortage, of course, in nurses in the Columbia Gorge. So all 4 of the hospitals, led by Mark Scott, who was the CEO at MCMC at that time, came to the college, asked to start a nursing program. And this was really a big, big endeavor because it's an expensive program. It was then, it still is. The college, and it was the first big call that Dr. Toda had to make when he came on board. Do we start this big, expensive program? Well, the hospitals were providing startup funding. They were providing clinical space, equipment, a lot of support, and they continue to do so. So he said, yes, let's go ahead and do this. Since then, well over 300 nurses. I have a spreadsheet someplace that talks about all of the nurses that we have graduated from the program since then. And we've added to the program. Medical assisting is another component to it now. Now we're doing paramedic, we're doing EMT. Paramedic won't start this year, it's going to start next year. But those are all additions and expansions of what is now the healthcare occupations program. I talked about the bond measure coming on, allowing us to complete the renovations and build a new classroom building, build the Hood River building. Then we have Dr. Susan Wolf, who is the chief academic officer. And Dr. Wolf noticed about this time, 2005, 2006, these large wind blades coming up the Columbia Gorge on trucks. And she wondered whether there might be some jobs associated with those wind turbines. And so she took the initiative to go out and contact companies, some of whom are based in Norway and other places far afield. Tracked them down, asked that question, do you need any help with workforce training? And the answer, oh yeah, we do. Will you start a program? Columbia Gorge Community College started the first wind technician training program of any community college on the West Coast. There were 3, we were one of 3 programs at that time, and received a lot of assistance from programs in Iowa and Michigan, as I recall. We worked with the American Wind Energy Association to establish common outcomes for programs across the U.S. A big explosion of wind turbine expansion across the U.S. and all sorts of training programs starting up, some with more questionable outcomes, shall we say, than any formal academic program. And so the intent of working with AWEA, the American Wind Energy Association, was to work with industry partners and get that solid guidance right off the bat. What do you need? What skills are required? And come up with outcomes that really influence development of new programs across the U.S. So our college and those 2 others, one in Iowa, one in Michigan, helped craft those outcomes. And that really established a foundation for a lot of the stuff that's followed. Another big one under Dr. Toda, the Fort Dalles Readiness Center. This is a partnership with the Oregon Military Department. The Readiness Center, as many of you know, was located down on West 6th Street, and it was an old Quonset building. It dated back into the 1930s or 40s. There was a 30-year effort. It was on county land, and the county still owns Kramer Field, which is where that facility was located. The county couldn't do anything with that particular parcel because the Oregon Military Department had its readiness center there. So remember Les Kokenauer, he was a mayor of the Dalles, started the effort. I think it was under Les, and it took decades, literally decades of negotiation with Oregon Military Department and the Department of Defense to finally replace that building. The college's role was to provide long-term land lease to the military department, and working closely with Wasco County, relocated the building to become a partnership structure. It is the largest conference center between Portland and Pendleton, maybe farther afield than that. We can seat about 1,000 people there. 1/3 of the building is readiness center space. 1/3 is college space. That's where our renewable energy or electromechanical technology program is based. And then 1/3 is shared space, that conference facility, the assembly hall in particular. So another big milestone in 2013, and also in 2013, independent accreditation. Finally, Dr. Wolf was the champion on this one, and Dr. Toda totally in support and co-champion, I should say. Why was it important? Because now suddenly, finally, students, when they received a degree, it said Columbia Gorge. More importantly, their financial aid could be processed locally. They received information locally. They had a lot more understanding, control over that. And finally, from a programmatic standpoint, we could turn programs around more quickly. There was not quite the rigorous, lengthy review process. It's still rigorous, but not as lengthy going through PCC. Another milestone, our third president, Dr. Marta Cronin, who sadly is moving on. She's taking a position in Pennsylvania at the end of June. But in the meantime, a couple of other milestones under Dr. Cronin's tenure. And this one I know you're familiar with. We just opened, seems like yesterday, it's already been a couple of years ago now, the Columbia Gorge Regional Skills Center Student Residence Hall, thanks to support from the city of the Dalles, Wasco County, Port of the Dalles, Sherman County, Gillum County. A lot of different folks kicked into this, including private companies. We secured a $7.3 million match, dollar for dollar match required. And February 2019 was that deadline. Started construction, completed it, and opened just this past summer. We had the dedication ceremony, delayed for a year because of COVID. And the new programs that go into that, advanced manufacturing, construction technology. I'm going to talk about aviation maintenance in just a second. One other key point to keep in mind, also last year, then Representative Bonham, now Senator Bonham, and Representative Anna Williams crossed the political divide to provide funding, federal funding, American Recovery Act funding to the college to construct a child care center. And that is something we're working on and continue to do so now. Where we are, and where are we on time? 7:27, okay. Aviation maintenance, we received approval last summer. This is a Part 147 Aviation Maintenance Technology Training Program. We're basing it right now at Crestline Construction in a warehouse in the Dalles Business Park. We don't have the room to grow the program very much. We're capping it at about 15 students. We can grow easily double that, triple that with larger space. But in order to do so, we need to be based at Columbia Gorge Regional Airport. We've looked at Hood River, small airport, a lot of encroachment from residential, neighbors complaining about noise, things like that. Columbia Gorge Regional Airport has the capacity to grow. It is growing, and it's just immediately north of our campus. Unfortunately, it's based in the state of Washington, and the Higher Education Coordinating Commission had a little bit of an issue with that. Why are we providing funding for training that's taking place in the state of Washington? Well, we've explained that the airport is owned by the city of the Dalles and Klickitat County. It is recognized by the FAA as an Oregon airport located in the state of Washington, and it receives funding already from Oregon Department of Transportation as well as Washington Department of Transportation. So there's precedent there. The HEC said, okay, we'll think about it and we'll take it to our advisory committee, and they've been doing that for 2 years. So frankly, we got a little bit tired of that, and I had a conversation with former Representative John Huffman a few years ago and asked him about the feasibility of legislation. He cited various precedents here and statewide and suggested, yes, that's something that should be feasible. So spoke with Senator Bonham. He agreed to sponsor legislation for us, SB 482. It passed the Senate unanimously about a month and a half ago. With the logjam of bills going through the House, it's been a bit of a delay, but under Representative Helfrich, we received unanimous passage. I believe it was on Monday. It was either Monday or Tuesday of this week. And that bill is now en route to Governor Kotek's office for signature. So there's a historic milestone that just happened this very week. A little bit earlier this year, City of the Dalles, my chronology is out of order here. City of the Dalles submitted a earmark request to Senator Merkley for construction of a permanent hangar. We have a $3.5 million EDA grant, including $700,000 in local match, City of the Dalles, Wasco, and Klickitat County, to build a permanent training hangar for the college at the regional airport, and also to expand infrastructure to various business park parcels over there that are currently vacant. They don't have infrastructure. So by positioning the hangar at the end of a string of those parcels, we do a couple of things. We provide a permanent space for the college's training program, and we also provide business expansion capacity at the airport industrial park, all aviation related. So Klickitat County submitted the grant 2 years ago. It took EDA 2 years to approve it. We received approval, but by then the cost had escalated. So now we've got a financing gap. And the City of the Dalles request to Senator Merkley is one way of filling that gap. The Klickitat County is also looking to Washington Department of Commerce as another alternative. We have a couple of years to raise the money. The total project now is around $5.9 million, including the industrial park expansion. Another big one coming up, credit for prior learning. I can tell you a lot more about this and put you in touch with Dr. Rebecca Schwartz, who is championing this one. The School of Hard Knocks, you like to say. What have we learned through private employment? What have we learned through life experience? You can actually turn some of that now into college credit. I don't want to oversimplify it. It is more complicated than that, but there are public workshops coming up June 20th and June 23rd, one in the Dalles, one in Hood River. If you'd like to learn more, we put a note in the chat box, please, and we'll follow up. Finally, on childcare. Here's the big one. The goal is to renovate Chenoweth Middle School, turn it into a large capacity public childcare center, 200 or more. It's going to cost about $15 million to renovate that building. We being Columbia Gorge ESD and the college, collectively, we have about $2 million between us, with the college having most of that, thanks again to Senator Bonham and Representative Williams. The college has until next June to expend those funds. Our thinking is to put a new roof on the building to stabilize it. It has deteriorated. It hasn't been used since 2009. There's a lot of support for this. So there are two different issues we need to confront. One, can we raise the funding to actually renovate the structure? Two, can we operate it sustainably and affordably long-term? And those are parallel discussions taking place. We just had a committee meeting yesterday on the sustainability issue. We will reconvene in a couple of weeks and looking hard at the numbers. It's going to take full enrollment. It's going to take affordable tuition, but not below market tuition. It'll take scholarship support for students. It's going to be complicated. Rural Oregon, rural Washington are childcare deserts. Back last fall, there was not a single available opening in Wasco County for any child at any age. That's how tough it has been. And it is a serious, serious issue. And it's going to take a community effort. Same type of effort that established Columbia Gorge Community College. This one might be a little bit easier than that, I think. I hope. So where we're going to have a new president. We know that. We don't know who it is. But here's a way to find out more about the candidates. And if you don't have this information, it's going to be in the paper this week because I'm writing the press release. Dr. Boyens, I'm not sure how to pronounce the middle name. I'm going to find out. It's going to be June 5th. The Dalles campus is going to be building 3. That's the new building we put up in 2008, 10:30 a.m. And these times are not the most convenient. And we've been trying to figure out a better solution on that one. We'd love to have something in the evening, but whether it's the candidates or the space or whatever, I've not been privy to that part. We've had a tough time getting any evening appointments on this, and that is unfortunate, but there doesn't seem to be a way around that, I understand. Dr. Ken Lawson is going to be on June 8th, 10:30. Dr. Jerry Fliger, I believe is how we pronounce that, June 9th at 10:30 in the Dalles. And Dr. Rachel Solemsaas fascinating background. Well, I won't go into the background on all of these. I don't want to prejudice anybody, but anyway, that's June 12th, 10:30 a.m. And what I can say, from what I've having read the biographies of all four of these candidates, stellar appreciation to the search committee, 13 members from the community and college who put in days and days and weeks of work reviewing 33 applications that came in. So really good turnout. So that's going to be another one. And I told you about the surprise at the end. Well, remember, I talked about the founding of the college. We have a 50-year anniversary coming up before long, folks. That's kind of a shocking way of looking back at what we've done and where we might be going next. But think about that, a golden anniversary for Columbia Gorge Community College. So when I talk about correcting me on any of this information, please do, because the other point that I'd like to bring out, this is background for our new president, but it's also going to be background, the start of a chronology that we should be able to produce to commemorate that 50th anniversary. And there's no time like the present to start building the chronology of where we've been, what we've accomplished. Our current leadership at the board level, Lucille Begay, Jonathan Foss, Tim Arbogast, Kim Morgan, and Nate Stice. We will be joined by Laura Delator. She is a community health worker with One Community Health, I believe, and Aura Lee Branch. These are both from Hood River, and Aura Lee is a retired educator. I believe she has, I think at the university level, I believe. And so we're looking forward to having them come on board. And I think that's the end of my spiel. So I've tried to cover 50 years of history there. I'm going to stop share. And again, any information that I can provide. Yeah, Casey, definitely. How about if I make this document available and people can use it as a draft and, hey, add stuff, whatever. I'll put it in the chat box. Did a lot of talking. Questions?
Dan, thank you. That was a lot of work to put that together, going back to the records. Suggestion that you might decide not to. I know the college has had some financial problems in the past, and you might, if you were to highlight those, it would show the resiliency of the college as well. Not to.
Good point. And the financial challenges are not over, Phil. It's still a very, very tight budget. Typically, we receive about a third of our support from the State Community College Support Fund. And historically, it's been roughly a third from tuition and a third from tax base, but those ratios are changing and we're having to rely more on tuition and fees, which is unfortunate. There needs to be a better solution than that. The state level funding declines. It is continuing to decline. And that's a challenge. College's tax base is 27 cents per thousand, which is not much to run a community college. I don't know if it's possible to change that without cutting into other tax bases under Measure 5. It's an interesting question, but 27 cents per thousand does not get you very far in terms of running a community college, which basically covers an area of the state of Massachusetts. When I turn this into a PowerPoint, that's one of the slides I want to use. When we do a federal grant application, you'll take the college service area and drop it across a map of the state of Massachusetts. The nearest community college, Yakima, is located in another state by that measure. Well, it's located in another state anyway, but it's like Vermont or something. You know, you go to Pendleton, that's out in the Atlantic Ocean by that measure. So it's kind of a good way of, for a grant reader in DC to understand the scope of what we're doing in a rural area. 80,000 people across 10,000 square miles. That's a challenge. Now, that's more than the tax base. Hood River, Wasco County, of course, is smaller, but we're serving Klickitat, Skamania, Gillum, Wheeler, Sherman, Wasco, Hood River, students coming from all of that area. It's one reason we built that residence hall.
Another economic point that is a positive is people should think of the community college as an additional, like a big industry in the Dalles. The employment base and the income that it brings to our community is equivalent to other industries.
Very good point, sir. Very good point. Alex and Matthew, do you have your video or your audio on now? Let's get back and do some belated intros. Alex, any luck?
Yeah, I'm going to use my phone.
Okay,
But-
cool.
Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, Alex, you should put a ticket in with your IT guy to fix that.
I know.
Sorry, I probably was on a phone call earlier. My son called me after I joined the Zoom meeting, so. Yeah, Matt Cole here, Direct Line IT. Not much going on with us other than we're doing a lot of phone systems lately, which is good. We've also been doing a lot of migrations for clients. A lot of people have been migrating off of Blue Mountain Communications, formerly GorgeNet, locally. So we've been assisting a lot of people in that. So, you know, we're always here to help you with anything you need, from printers to phone systems to anything you guys have. So that's what's new with us.
All right, thank you, Matt. And Alex,
Yep.
I
So,
wasn't sure if you were joining this call this morning, so I just plowed ahead.
No, you're totally fine to do that. Yeah, so today is my last day with the chamber. Yep, I'm going to be going into software development sometime this summer. But yeah, I know Matt's excited. Matt gets it. But yeah, it's a tough day. Sad, but very grateful to have been part of these calls, you know, while I've been here. So yeah,
So Alex, are you staying in the Dalles or?
that's the hope.
Oh, good.
Good. Thank you
Yeah.
for
I can
that,
still-
Alex.
So I'll still see you at the athletic club.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And Casey and I are on the Fort Dalles 4th fireworks group. So I do plan on being that for many years.
Excellent.
So,
Alex, it has really been a pleasure working with you, and man, I'm glad you're staying in the community. Thank you for doing that.
likewise, thank you very much.
You're good doing.
And
Everyone
good
on
luck
this call.
with the new adventure.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Corliss, you have your hand raised.
I just wanted to add to your presentation, Dan. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that we need students and students need money. And as part of the foundation, we're trying to raise money so that as many students can go to college.
Boy, there's an oversight on my part. Corliss, thank you. When was the foundation established?
I don't. I'm new. This is my first year on the foundation, but you know, we're trying to make sure these kids get the funds to go to college.
If memory serves, 1979, and I should know it. I used to direct the darn thing, but I'm glad to have you on board. Thank you. We do have a new foundation director on board now, and I'd like to get her on the schedule to talk about the foundation. But thank you, Corliss. I'm going to go into the Word document and make that addition right now, because I want that to be a living document, at least over the next few years. I did put it in the chat box, so please feel free to, I'll put my email in there. Thank you, Casey. Please feel free to add to that Word document and send it back to me.
All right, folks, I see that we're at 7:45 almost. Do we want to use the rest of the hour to make any last second announcements, anything like that? Any other questions for Dan? Okay.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you so much, Dan. Very, very thorough.
Well, visuals would have helped. I ran out of time. I'm sorry. Visuals next time. All right, everyone. Alex, thank you.
Yep. Thank you everyone for your time this morning. Let's adjourn early. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye,
Alex,
all.
sure.
Bye, Alex.
You guys.
See you, everyone.
Have a good day, everyone.